Hello. It's a windy day here in danang Vietnam. Alright, I'm going to talk a little bit something that is subjective. And we're going to talk about money, the Vietnamese dong. And there are different types of ways to pay. When it comes to maybe going to restaurants, maybe tour guides, maybe a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And some will take credit card, and some will only take cash. And some will only basically probably would not do any types of form of electronic payment or anything that has to do with an app. Unlike the United States, we can use Zelle, we can use Venmo, whatever. Now, I had a specific tour guide that I used, that I've known for 3 years. Excellent guy, great tour guide, and, he was absolutely great. And, some forms that he can only accept are cash. And one of my biggest struggles, in the U.S., I never carried much in the way of cash. I always use a credit card or I pay by an app. Now, here's how you deal with some of the things when you need the cash the most. And a lot of the reasonings why a lot of the vendors, the tour guides, even the restaurants will only take cash is because of tax reasonings on their end. And I get that. So, and then when you withdraw some of the cash, I could go on to the next part. But the thing is, I had a few guides with my guide, but he also booked a discounted rate for my hotel room, which he actually paid for. I had to pay cash. So, in order to get that, and instead of asking the receptionist, can you reverse the cash back to the tour guide who actually paid for my rooms, she said, no, you got worry to pay the amount to your tour guide. So, okay, I had to find a way to get some cash. So, I had to prepare myself to pay cash. And one of the things you can do a money exchange with cash in U.S. currency to Vietnamese. And in fact, you actually can get pretty much the equivalency what the exchange rate actually is. In fact, I actually got a little bit more than what the exchange rate was when I did my research, and that was quite nice. So I'm thinking no fees, whether it's at the airport or at a nearby exchange area. At one of the places when I was in Vietnam. Now, if you don't have the cash in American currency with you and you're relying on credit cards, well, you can do some withdrawals depending on the bank and depending on what your bank only allows. Now, the local banks here, whether it's Vietnam, VND, or Techcom Bank, sometimes they would only allow around about up to 5 million dong. That's not a whole lot. So I did one withdrawal that was around 3 million. That was the max allowed plus the withdrawal fees, and that was out of Vietnam Bank. That was not enough. I owed my guide even more, and we're talking like 21 million. About 21 million Vietnamese dong. And that's, we're talking maybe about 900 USD. The rooms, the tours, everything else, and including tips. Now, there is one place you may want to consider going to if you are needing to withdraw large sums of cash. And there are international banks that allow you to do so. And one of the banks that I did find out and went to when I withdrew that cash was a bank called hsbc. And they are here in Danang. And you may want to consider that. Now, my bank in the United States, JP Morgan Chase Bank, will only allow $500 USD per 24 hours to be withdrawn. But I was able to get to the HSBC Bank and withdraw up to 2,300,000 dong, which mounts up to about 500 USD, pretty close. And you have a small transaction fee, and the fee was like 1.9%, and there's a little bit of a markup added to it. So I had that withdrawn, but on the other hand, I was only able to withdraw 500 USD. I had to go back 24 hours later to withdraw more cash, and that's exactly what I did. Once I passed the 24-hour period, I was able to withdraw once more, and I had enough money to pay my tour guide. So these are the things you got to consider: is how much time you got to stay. Think of your time window you're going to be here. Think right offhand. If you don't have the cash, and the procedures are for them to only pay by cash, then consider going to HSBC Bank, and then you're able to withdraw more cash, and it makes your life much easier. Now, when using your debit card or credit card to withdraw cash or do any other transactions, just a little bit of a reminder to you to avoid certain problems, and it may arise. Be sure that your card is fraud protected. Want to be sure that nothing, that your bank doesn't see anything suspicious that's going on in a transaction, that, you're out of the country, you're doing whatever. Be sure that's fraud protected, and remind your bank and call the number on the back of your cards indicating that you are traveling, and then that should be protected in terms of fraud. Now, on top of that, when you withdraw your money, be sure you select checking or current. That's another thing. That's kind of another thing you want to do. Be sure you have the sufficient funds in your checking account or whatever's current to withdraw those sums of cash. And also be sure get the PIN number right. If you enter your PIN number multiple times that's incorrect, it's probably a red flag for the ATM machine to eat up your card. Let's not let that happen. If it does happen, contact the bank that you withdrew the money from as quickly as possible. I would probably be sure you go to a bank or an ATM that's located at a bank, and be sure that bank is open in case your card is eaten away. And then they would notify security, and they would notify anybody to work up the procedures to get your card back. And then also, any issues that arise, contact your bank, and then they'll handle any issues that they have on their end, and hopefully you get back on the right track. And I hope I gave you all the details as best I possibly could about how to handle things when you're in the bind where you need cash for particular reasons as I specified. And thank you for watching me. Give my presentation and give me a thumbs up, and then comment, ask any questions that you like. And that is the whole thing when it comes to dealing with transactions with your card and getting the cash.